7-hour-long power cuts, a shortage of medical supplies, 25% increase in food prices, a foreign debt of $50 billion, protesters on the streets, rising discontent with the government, resignation of the Prime Minister. How did Sri Lanka get here? Here's all you need to know on TAS Explainer. Experts say that the root of this problem lies in the economic mismanagement by successive governments and the effects of a global crisis. Its national expenditure exceeds the national income, and the production of tradable goods and services is inadequate. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa promised deep tax cuts during a 2019 election campaign that were enacted months before the COVID-19 pandemic. Government revenue worsened, which prompted rating agencies to downgrade Sri Lanka to near default levels, meaning the country's economy was locked out of global markets. The COVID-19 pandemic disrupted two primary sources of foreign exchange earnings: remittances from migrant unskilled workers and tourism. Tourism sector was already negatively affected by the 2019 series of church bombings which killed nearly 300 people. This, coupled with Russia's invasion of Ukraine, both nations being leading sources of tourism for Sri Lanka before the conflict, continued to slow the industry's recovery. The tourism sector's revenue dropped from $7.5 billion in 2019 to just $2.8 billion in 2021. The sudden decision of the government in April 2021 to ban chemical fertilizer imports in order to turn 100% organic farming and preserve foreign reserves despite warnings from experts led to a shortage in essential commodities and affected food security. At this point, tax revenues, foreign remittances, tourism revenues, agricultural production, and foreign exchange were all falling. The forex reserves dropped by almost 70% in the last 2 years. Foreign debt, however, is rising. The remaining foreign reserves of $1.9 billion would not be sufficient to meet the debt obligations as of 2022, which are at $4 billion to be repaid. And that's not all. According to Bloomberg, Sri Lanka has a total of $8.6 billion in repayments due in 2022, including both local debt and foreign debt. Ordinary Sri Lankans are also dealing with shortages and soaring inflation ever since the government steeply devalued the currency last month. The citizens have completely lost faith in the government, which is why they have taken to the streets demanding President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's resignation. The protests have recently grown to be violent, raising the death toll to 5. So what's the way out? If Gotabaya Rajapaksa steps down, as his brother did, then the protests would subside temporarily, but their successors would require some time to restore economic stability and order. Economists suggest that aside from proper taxation, a more export-oriented growth would be necessary to uplift Sri Lanka's economy from its current debt crisis. Sri Lanka has sought assistance from India and China in terms of aid and credit. This, coupled with IMF's assistance, provides a ray of hope to this island nation. However, the government would have to implement painful reforms and restructuring processes which would put the general public through more economic turmoil.